This episode of the HooperCast is brought to you by Letterboxd. Right now, listeners of our show have the chance to win a free 1-year pro account upgrade on Letterboxd. For those of you who don't know, Letterboxd is a social network for film lovers that allows you to track, rate, and review the films you watch. You can follow other members to get recommendations. You can publish lists of films like your top 10 for the year, and a lot more. Letterboxd is free to use. There's no subscription fee, but a pro account is going to provide you with additional features such as a customized summary of your past year's viewing. If you already have an account, then you get a 1-year extension free. So even if you're already paying for the pro account, you're thinking, oh yeah, I don't need this. I've already got it. Thanks a lot, HooperCast, for, I already re-upped my subscription. You get a year free on us. So you're included as well. If you want to enter, all you have to do is listen to our show and we will read the code word at random. Then you're going to send us an email at hoopercast@gmail.com, enter the code word in the subject line of the email, and make sure you include your Letterboxd username in the email so that we know which account to reward. If you send us the code word, but I don't know your login, we're going to move on to the next person. So make sure you send us the code word and your account username, and then you're in like Flint, my friend. The winner will be selected during the last show of each month. You can also follow our show on Letterboxd. Just search HooperCast. That's letterboxd.com, letterboxd.com, letterboxd.com. You are damn right, everybody. It's the HooperCast. Hello. It is I, Connor. It is he, Dustin. And joining us once again this week is Mr. Kellen Stover. Hello, Kellen.
Hello.
My neighbor, Kellen.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. If you're watching us on YouTube, there's a full episode and all that on iTunes, patreon.com/HooperCast. We will talk about that a little bit later. But for now, just hang out, listen to us talk about movies, and enjoy. Dustin.
Yes.
You have seen a lovely film called Power Rangers, the newest Power Rangers movie.
I'm curious about your adjective there, but sure.
What does it match? Is it an accurate descriptor of this film or no?
Not really.
Oh.
All right, let me jump in here. For those of you that don't know, Power Rangers, obviously based on the early 90s series of the same name. Well, actually, it was called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but we're splitting hairs here. So Power Rangers centers on a group of high school students who are endowed with these powers whereby they can do cool martial arts and defeat evil. And they also get some cool robots that they get to go into, and Zords and all that kind of stuff. So here's the deal. This is a perfect case of how to do a reboot and how not to do a reboot. And the weird thing is it cancels each other out, and this movie just is, it's there. So like you can say it is a movie, but that's about it. So the film is directed by Dean Israelite.
Box checked.
Right. And stars an all-star group of actors that no one's heard of, and also Bryan Cranston and Elizabeth Banks and Roy from The Office. Weird. So the film starts with a really weird thing, and I just have to point this out because I think it sets the tone. So if you want to split hairs, it starts with a flashback sequence of the original Power Rangers who existed in prehistoric times at some point, and they had a conflict between each other. Zordon was the original Red Ranger, and he's fighting this evil Green Ranger, and he's like, "Oh no, we're dying! I'm gonna send my my coins and my team's coins. My team is all dead. I'm going to bury them in the ground and they'll be found by teenagers with attitude. Is not really his line, but that's what I'm going to say. And so that's how it starts. But anyway, then it goes. So they're like setting this tone of like this epic that it spans centuries, and it never really delivers on that. And then immediately cuts to, and I kid you not, cuts to a scene where our Red Ranger, the leader of the team in modern day, he's not a Red Ranger yet. His name is Jason. Jason and his best buddy, who shows up in this one scene only, are putting a cow in the men's locker room at their high school because they're pranksters, and the cow is like really mad about it, and the cow's like Murr. And so they're in the locker room, and the guy's like, man, this cow's really mad. And his buddy's like, yeah, I know, I milked him earlier and he was real mad about it. And then Jason's like, dude, this is a dude cow, it doesn't have udders. And then the friend's like, what did I milk? And like, that was the joke.
They made a cow masturbation joke in a Power Rangers movie?
In the first scene. I
kind of want to see this. This is hilarious.
So that's how the movie starts, and so you know what you're in for, and then it proceeds to very weirdly and very again plot contrivances. We talked about that in the last episode. Get all of these characters together who just all kind of happen to be in the same place at the same time to find the coins. And their reasons for this are not very good. It's like Jason and Billy went out there because Billy's father used to take Billy out there, and they have to go out there to do some stuff. And Kimberly is an angsty teenager who just wants to go swim in the lake that's out by this rock quarry. And she does this to blow off steam. Trini is out there to do yoga, because that's what teenagers do, and Zach just goes out there because his mom is sick and he wants to get away from her, and they all happen to be at this thing.
Okay, so first of all, they go to that rock quarry because it's probably the same one in Georgia that they get film benefits for.
Most likely. And so they all end up there, and then some things happen. They find the coins, they become Power Rangers. Now, I don't remember in the original series that the Power Rangers actually had superpowers. I think they just put on the suits and they just happened to be good at martial arts because they did like martial arts stuff.
Yeah, they had the suits, and then like
I don't remember.
They'd have like those dagger weapons or whatever, and then they could like do like the Megazord, but there was nothing about wearing the suit that made them much better at fighting, I believe. So
this is like
no. Hold on. No, I'm having flashbacks. I'm pretty sure they all got like zapped by Zordon.
But did they become superheroes? Because in this one, like the second they find the coins, they like black out and they wake up the next morning, and like Jason gets up and accidentally like shatters his bathroom sink because he's too powerful now.
Why is it always the bathroom sink?
And they can like jump over like these giant crevices.
They don't want it to be the family cat.
Well, this is true.
Do you remember in the Wolverine X-Men Origins Wolverine? He's like he keeps the claws keep coming out and he can't stop cutting the sink up.
It also happens in the Amazing Spider-Man, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then like Peter's in the bathroom or something. Anyway, the point is, so now they're all superheroes, and they're like, whoa, this is like really cool. And they go in there and they find Zordon, played by Bryan Cranston. And Zordon's like, you have to be a team, and then you'll get into the morphing grid and you'll be able to morph. So the thing about the movie is that they cannot work as a team, so they cannot access the morphing grid, so they cannot actually be in their costumes.
The morphine drip.
So you will not see them in their costumes until literally like the last 20 minutes of the movie, and even then they all have their masks off because it's like Iron Man where the masks like disappear, and so the masks disappear so that you can see their faces, I guess. And so like,
are they all that beautiful that they need to be on screen all the time?
Absolutely not.
But they all invented the bleeding edge armor before Black Panther and Iron Man,
right? And so anyway, so that's the thing, and it's like you'll never really get your Power Rangers fix. But the movie doesn't really know what tone it's going for. It goes from really dark, and it's like, oh no, here's some dark stuff happening, and then it's like, and then it cuts to robot dinosaurs and literally you get go go Power Rangers playing in the background, and it's like, but this is two different tones, guys, like you can't have both. And then it literally will cut to Rita Repulsa eating Krispy Kreme donuts, which is incredibly relatable but not interesting. And so they mentioned Krispy Kreme donuts at least 80,000 times in this movie.
To the point where you obviously know it's a marketing tie-in.
Well, there's literally a scene where they're like, where could the last coin be buried? We have to find it. And then it turns out it's buried underneath the Krispy Kreme. So
what? Okay. You could make all of this up and I'm never going to see it and I would believe you.
Yes, it's all true.
It's like a plot
and so
point,
Rita
right?
Repulsa goes into the Krispy Kreme and she's like, I sense that it's around here somewhere. And the woman behind the counter is like, how can I help you today? And she's like, well, I guess I'll try a donut. And she literally sits down with a donut and bites it as Goldar destroys the Krispy Kreme. And I'm like, this is a commercial right now. But regardless,
jeez.
And sorry for the spoilers, but regardless, they mentioned Krispy Kreme a lot of times.
You spoiled that he blew up a Krispy Kreme. I'm so upset.
I know, right? And there's a point where all the Power Rangers are tied up, and Rita's like, "Where is the last coin?" or whatever. And I don't even remember if they're looking for a coin. They're looking for something. And literally one of them is like, "It's at the Krispy Kreme," and I'm like,
my God.
"But you could have I don't know. It's bad." Anyway, the point is, the movie does not know what it wants to be. It is at times really dark. It is at times really goofy. It does not balance it well at all. However, minus the opening scene, which does not fit at all, the characters actually are fairly passable. I mean, obviously this is surface deep character development here, but it does its job. They're archetypes and whatever. You're not going to get any oh man, this is challenging character development. But, it does okay, I guess. At least the characters seem to all have personalities. The best here probably is Billy. In this version, he's on the autism spectrum. There are things that are fairly interesting. But regardless, it just doesn't. It's overly explained. It's like, but why are the Zords dinosaurs? And then Zordon's like, well, when the Zords landed here centuries ago, they took the form of the most powerful beings on the planet, which at the time were dinosaurs. And it's like, yeah, but guys, a mastodon's not a dinosaur. Did you not know that? and so anyway, the whole thing is really weird. Overly explained. Bill Hader plays Alpha 5, which is weird. I don't know. So here's what I'm going to say about it. Do I recommend it? No, unless you have time to kill and don't mind. It's an interesting kind of thing because I think it really desperately shows what people think will sell, and what people think will make a really good start of a franchise. And anybody who knows anything about Power Rangers can kind of see the machinations at work and be like, oh, I know why you did that. It's so that you can do the Marvel-esque thing later. And I know why you have this little tease at the end. And I understand this and that and whatever. And so it's an exercise in because it literally does all of the popular things. And it suffers for it. So it's probably better than the Ivan Ooze movie because it's not stupid. Well, it is stupid, but it's not that stupid.
It doesn't have Ivan Ooze.
But Ivan Ooze was cool.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. It's so weird because I don't regret having seen it. It's not that bad, but I'm never going to watch it again. And I don't know that I would ever say to somebody hey, do you have 2 hours to spend? Go watch that. But what I will say is maybe if you're just in the mood for something you can just laugh at, sure. Or if you just want something to just be this is what's wrong with Hollywood, then there you go. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but so I'm going to give it 2 stars. it is a movie. What's our 2-star, Hooper? Is it didn't piss me off?
Didn't piss you off.
It didn't piss me off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots changed, Kellen.
Yes. It didn't piss me off, but it just left me apathetic. Like I was like, okay, whatever. It is free on Amazon Prime, so if you have an Amazon Prime account, and like I said, just want to like sit down and relax with something that you can just kind of laugh at, there you go. I don't know. If you're a fan of Power Rangers, though, this probably will piss you off, so maybe steer clear. But anyway, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
It exists, and fine.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, Dustin, do you have to bug out?
I got to bug out, guys.
All right.
Toodles.
Well, I'll take this up.
Pet your pooch for me.
Will do.
All right, Dustin. I'll see you next week. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Dustin. Okay, well, now it's just me and Kellen. So, Kellen, let's talk a little bit about, I'm eager to participate with you in a discussion about Black Mirror. Because I am 2 episodes away from finishing the 4th season. And you have seen it all, right?
Yes.
I've recently come on to Black Mirror. I've been meaning to watch it for a while, and I finally got on it. And this is, we now refer to this show essentially as a film and TV appreciation podcast. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just voice my appreciation for a show like Black Mirror. If people don't know, again, I feel like you do know, because most people who are listening to the show must have Netflix. And if you have Netflix, you've seen at least that Black Mirror exists, and it's a Netflix show. But if you did not know, Black Mirror is a science fiction anthology series on Netflix. It's got 4 seasons. Episodes can go anywhere from about 55 minutes to 90 minutes. Anywhere from 3 episodes to a season to maybe 6 or 7. And they're essentially all set in some sort of, pretty near future where any number or 1 or 2 pieces of technology are pretty highly advanced, but they all share a theme of really trying to show you, if this piece of tech existed in our society as it exists now, this is what it could and might be used for, and here's what it says about us as a species in a society. And I find that very fascinating.
That was very succinct, by the way.
Yeah, that's what the show is, and that's the standout. I'll mention, since we're talking about the 4th season. The first episode of the 4th season is called USS Callister, and it's all about a bunch of people who exist who basically get imprisoned inside this Second Life, basically, type of software. At the behest of one of the guy who created it, and it's sort of like they're on the set of his favorite show, which is sort of Star Trek-esque, and he has complete control over them, and it's one of the few episodes in the series that actually has a happy ending, but it's a really good episode, and I really appreciate all the thought that goes into this show, and all the for them to come up with inventions or social norms within the episode that not only make the episode entertaining to watch, but they also make complete sense as something that would exist. There's a I don't know if you noticed this, Kellen, there's a recurring piece of tech in at least 3 of their episodes, and it's the idea that your eyes record what you're seeing and hearing all the time, and you can.
That goes back to the first season, the first series,
and you can recall with this little remote, this little touch. It's like the size of a coin. It's just this little pebble looking thing that you can rewind and look at your memories, for recall. You don't actually have to use your memory anymore. You can just go back and recall and project it on a screen, or it can be seen by other people for this reason or that reason. And just the idea that a lot of these inventions are, I'm sure they're not going to happen tomorrow, but but they're pretty commonly spoken about advances in technology that you could see, coming about in our lifetime. Some of this stuff with the rate we're going at. I mean, do you agree with that at least? I mean, at least like with the plausibility of a lot of the tech in this show.
Yeah, and the way that they keep you on your toes is that each episode is on a varying chronological scale in that regard. So some of them are like, not to spoil anything, but there's an episode where there's something that's so on the horizon as to be something that might come out tomorrow on the App Store. And then there's something, an episode for this season that it's not a spoiler to say that it's a full-on post-apocalyptic film noir kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's not just because it's in black and white, but so there's a chronology that all the episodes tend to have, and it's always tomorrow, but the scale and the distance ahead of our current time period is always kind of in flux between episodes. What was you're 2 episodes away from finishing?
Yeah, I just watched the one where it's like the dating one where
hang the DJ.
Hang the DJ, yep.
Yeah. Second favorite episode of the season was that one.
Yeah.
You've got 2 more.
2 more, I believe. I think it's really interesting that first of all, I just love that this show exists, but I think that like this is one of those shows that has like an actual social utility it's a pretty nonpartisan one, that where it's just like, hey, it really functions as sci-fi should, which is like it's not really based on any particular like political viewpoint or it's really just telling you like, listen, here's how our society behaves, and pretty soon things are going to be introduced into this society that are going to enable worse behavior or force better behavior, or a mixture of the two. There's an episode where in that future you can essentially it's almost like everyone can be reviewed on Yelp. Like you get upvoted or downvoted as a citizen based on your peers' perception of you. So everyone is like chasing this awful standard of perfection, and if they screw up, like it can snowball fast to where if you're below like a 3-star or something, you can't get on certain flights, and it's nuts.
What I would say thematically, it does have technology at its core, and a lot of it is dystopian. Yeah, but I also don't think it's anti-technology in any shape or form. Each one is showing you, with the exception of 1 or 2 episodes one episode at least in the past 2 seasons that is kind of like a feel-good thing. Mm-hmm. They are all dystopia, but it's more along the lines of a warning rather than a warning for course correction. Yes, cautionary rather than saying this is why we shouldn't pursue this at all. Yeah, and that's what I think is really refreshing, because it doesn't, like what you said, it doesn't get weighty with its message. With its message. Yeah. And what it feels like to me, it feels like John would kill me if you heard me say this. It feels like a tighter, more focused and better Twilight Zone for the new era. Yeah,
exactly. Like there's some Twilight Zone is obviously a great show and has a ton of relatable storylines, but what they're able to, the context they're able to present to you as a millennial or older, it is going to speak to you a lot better if you haven't seen. The show it's literally, it's all right there in the name, Black Mirror. It's holding a mirror up to us as a society, and it's a black mirror. But
what is his name? Charlie Brooker.
Brooker, yeah.
I think it's Brooker. Yeah. And he was a film and television reviewer and kind of like television pundit for a while. Oh. And then and also a writer, but this is kind of his vehicle, like all the way back when it was on, I think, Sky or BBC or whichever of the British channels. But I've seen a interview with him. The Black Mirror literally is like, if you hold up your phone right now before the screen turns on, it's a black mirror.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
So that's and for like a television screen, a monitor screen.
Yep.
It's all, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Did you so you've seen my favorite episode of the season, so I feel like we can talk about it.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
Have you my favorite episode is Crocodile, the third episode. It takes place in what honestly is, I think this is one of the episodes that feels like it's like kind of right around the corner. It takes place in Iceland. They don't really ever outright say it, but the scenery and the landscape is really indicative of the barren, frosty tundras and stuff.
Yeah, that's the one that begins with them hitting like someone on their bike with their car.
Yes.
And then they get rid of the body.
Yeah, I thought this one was, it was one of those things where, it's an hour long like most of these are.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted it to be longer because I enjoyed it so much, but I think it does so much with its runtime as to be spoiled if it was to be longer. Does that make sense?
Interesting. So
it leaves you want. It's the thing where it leaves you wanting more, but if you got more of it, it wouldn't be as special as it is.
I understand what you're saying now.
I just really loved it because it all centers around a character whose panic puts her into further and further worse situations.
Yeah, incriminates herself.
Even further, to the point where, I mean, granted, what she did in the opening sequence of the episode, which isn't a spoiler, is to say they hit a bicyclist when they were drunk coming home from a rock show.
Mm-hmm.
In an undisclosed time. I'm assuming it seems like it's like the 90s or
early 2000s.
Yeah, and the means in which she goes about covering this up like spirals out of control to the point where doing a little bit of jail time for what she did to start out the episode is vastly different to what the consequences are by the end of the episode. And it's really interesting to see someone so well depicted in a hour-long thing spiral so far out of control and be unrecognizable from the person from the beginning.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember what my favorite episode of the whole series is. I liked.
Do you mean season or series? I mean,
I would say series, but I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a couple. I liked the one with the bees. Sort of just because, like, I mean, it was a little bit more like. It wasn't that much Black Mirror-y to me because Black Mirror is typically a little more intimate in its storytelling.
This one was wide.
But Black Mirror one was the bees one was at least like that was almost like a Sherlock episode in a way. Like how are they controlling all the bees? Like that was a good one. I did like that first one. I really liked the one. I forgot what it was called, but it was the one where like the people catch the kid on his computer and
I was about to say that.
And that he has to
shut up and dance.
Shut up and dance. That one was messed up because the whole time you feel. You feel really bad for that guy. I don't want to spoil it if no one's seen it, but like you feel bad for that guy until the end, and then you kind of understand like he's a little bit.
It puts the whole thing in perspective, and you're like, oh god,
oh wow, oh my god, like you deserve this, like it's.
Yeah, I'm on the Netflix page right now, and I'm scrolling through all the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It is really hard to nail a single favorite episode of the whole series.
It's a great show.
It's just so good.
Yeah, there's a really good one with I can't remember what it's called, but it's with Domhnall Gleeson and Haley Atwell, where he
be right back.
Be right back. He's killed at the beginning of the episode, and so she orders. There's some service where you basically give them some of his DNA and they send you like an android basically that's modeled after him and has his voice, and you can essentially customize it to be more and more like your dead loved one, and how like unfulfilling it ends up being for you, the one who lost the person, because how essentially it's all about how the artificial can never measure up to the real thing, no matter how fancy you dress it up and how advanced the science is. It's never going to be that person that you lost. It's like it's real profound stuff. If you haven't seen Black Mirror, you probably have a Netflix account. Go watch it. Like, watch one a week or something. Just sort of because they're basically some of them are feature length, and unlike a lot of things you're probably watching, it's going to make you think, and it'll make you sort of consider the morality of your actions. If nothing else in your life does that for you, like the Black Mirror essentially does serve as a little bit of like a, hey, if you behave vaguely like any of the people in here, I would just sort of watch it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd watch
what
yourself.
What I will say is every single person that watches this for the first time, definitely watch 2 episodes in one sitting, because the first episode is going to make you go like, what? It's not a spoiler to say the first episode revolves around a presidential family kidnapping that requires the president to perform a sex act on a pig.
Yeah.
And that is a outlandish plot to have for the first episode of someone watching this show. If you would watch that like as the third one, you'd be like, okay, each one is crazier than the last. But as the first one, I remember when I started it, I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
But then right after that is one of the best episodes.
Which one's after that?
15 Million Merits. It's the judge show in the.
Oh, yep. Yep.
It's got what's his name?
Daniel Kaluuya.
Yes, and what's her name from Downton Abbey?
I don't know her name. There's a really good one called San Junipero in season 2 or 3, I think, and that's regarded as one of the better episodes too, because that's another one that has a relatively happy ending, and there's a lot of 80s nostalgia in that one too. It's one of the
I think they learned in season 3 when it moved to Netflix. And kind of broadened its scope and moved to 6 episodes. I think they realized that they needed 1 episode per season.
That was hopeful.
That made people feel good at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a really beautiful episode. And, I think 4 is not, episode 4 of season 4, Hang the DJ, that you just saw, is not nearly as happy, because it does give you the little bit of like that sickness to your stomach, but you kind of feel good about it.
Right. Like it's a
complicated show.
Yeah. You feel some closure at least. Yeah. Black Mirror, everybody. Finally talking about it on the show. I had to finally see it. Kellen, here, let's do this. Let's say goodbye to the YouTube people at this point in the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can actually get the rest of this video episode by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/HooperCast. If you donate $1, become a patron for $1, you get one of these video episodes in full, and you get early access to it. So this one you're watching now, you could have had it last week, and all of it if you just paid me money. But you know what I mean? Like if you just become a patron for $1, it's pretty cheap. You can go to our Patreon and have access to this a week early, in full. And if you're not one of those people who wants to do that, you can continue watching half of an episode on YouTube like this. You can get the full audio episode on a bunch of podcast distribution platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, RadioPublic, PocketCasts, CastBox, Breaker, and Anchor FM. Just search HooperCast. But I encourage you to come to the Patreon page, mostly because you get to see in full the entire show, and there's a lot more to a show when you can see it. So it's essentially $1 per video. You can pick the ones that apply to you, that have the content you want in them. We're not asking for monthly donations unless you want to. It's a la carte. You know, if you see in the title or in the show notes that we're talking about something you want to hear about, it's just gonna cost you $1. Be a patron, and it just goes to throw a RedBox rental to me or Dustin, subsidize the show a tad. So patreon.com/HooperCast. Goodbye for now to the YouTube people. We'll see you guys next week. Catch the next episode. The rest of you, hi, hello. It's good to have you here.